It's Wednesday, March the 2nd, 2022. This is the King of the Mountain State Show. I'm Chase Hill. We've got an event coming up April the 16th for year 2 of their King of the Mountain State tournament, but we're going to go back and we're going to talk a little bit with our first ever, the 2021 heavyweight champion, the King of the Mountain State, Garry Roland.
Hey, Chase. Thanks for having me, brother.
Hey, it's good to have you on, man. I know after the tournament ended, things were kind of hectic and we didn't get a chance to really sit down and soak it in together and really talk about everything that you went through to get there. But what a tournament it was. I think you and I have talked so many times, your path to that championship was as difficult as we could have randomly selected, I think. And there you were at the end with your hand raised. It must have been an awesome moment. Tell me a little bit, tell the fans a little bit about the experience you had last year with the King of the Mountain State.
Well, it's probably the best tournament I've ever been a part of, man. It was definitely a special experience. And then being able to raise my hand at the end of it, it just, like I said, it was tremendous. So I really appreciate, you having me out there and giving me the invite. But we, coming into that tournament, we didn't really know what to expect. So to actually meet so many great fighters in the ring, you develop kind of a bond with all the guys that you fought with. And 2021 was a special year for sure.
One of the things that I kept waiting on people to mention and say, oh, well, whoever wins it, early on, James and I had a lot of talks and we would say, well, there's always going to be people come out and say, oh, that guy's not the best. They're not, I could have won that. I never heard that. Like, I don't know if it was because the performance that you put on, the physique that you brought to the ring, your fighting style, or just the amount of people that was behind you that really watched you fight these guys. But I never had one person come out of the woodworks and say, you know what, I could have won that tournament. I don't think anybody will ever say you weren't the best in the state last year.
And that means a lot because I know I put a lot into it. So for anyone to not doubt, and even before the championship bout, I mean, that was one of the best bouts. And you even said it. You said that was one of the best bouts I've ever seen. And before the championship bout, me and Matt talked, and he said, man, he's like, win or lose, this is an experience of a lifetime. And I felt the same way. Win or lose, that was a special experience. So.
Well, and boxing has this weird thing, like there's to be a sport that's maybe not mainstream all the time type deal, like your football, baseball, to be a little bit off the path. There's a lot of movies and stuff because the drama and the storylines it's created in boxing. But when I look at a championship fight where it's close, your knockdown of him in the first round was the difference. I mean, that was where you took control of the fight with points and in the judge's mind. I felt like Matt was a little bit hesitant after that.
Yep.
He fought a great fight. He's a great person, great fighter. But to see it play out, we couldn't have scripted it any better if it was a movie.
Oh, it was a dogfight, man. It went back and forth. I mean, the entire fight. I knew, so my track record with fighters who come forward. So if you look at when I fought Grizzle, the second he started coming forward, I had a chance to put him down. When he was moving backwards the whole fight, I struggled with him a little bit. Boggs, as soon as Boggs came forward, I had a chance to put him down. So I knew Matt was going to come forward. I knew I was going to have a chance to put him down. And I knew if I wanted to win that fight, I had to try to stay tight and put him down. So, he's a very tough kid, very tough fighter. And, it's not taking anything away from him because he got back up and finished and fought a great fight.
Yeah. And, we go back through some of those fights. It makes a lot of sense what you're saying. Like, Boggs boxed with you a little bit, but he was coming forward when he got knocked down. All those kind of things, they kind of played into your hand. And I believe the difference in the fight was I saw the boxer in you. I saw the clean punches. I saw the straight punches. Matt got a little bit wide. He got a little sloppy, not taking anything away from Matt again. But I saw you create a little bit of space and get a couple straight punches in there that were clean. It wasn't the number of punches. It wasn't the power punches. You were cleaner. You were more polished. You were the better boxer. And ultimately, like James and I talk all the time, the better boxer usually wins.
I really thought that the judges saw that too. The commentators, it didn't sound like they liked what the judges had to say. but I think the judges really, they really looked at they looked at the way that I fought him, and I fought him tight, and I stayed tight the whole time. I brought my punches from the chin and straight in. I didn't get too wild too many times. There were a couple times I felt forced because I felt like he was putting a lot of pressure on me, so I had to kind of retaliate to let the judges know that that I was still in the fight. So I had to force a little bit, but I mean, we fought in a phone booth the entire fight. So
Right. And one of those things, so this was the moment for me. Now, I know everything you put into it to get ready for it. I'm super glad that I was able to talk you into this tournament. I felt like you were crucial to the tournament. One thing that I'll never forget was the little embrace, the little moment you and I had in there in the ring. I knew what I had been through trying to keep this tournament together for a whole year. I knew what you had went through to become the heavyweight champion. And I'll never forget that moment. But tell me what it's like when you get back to the locker room, you get to your house, wherever you may go. When did it really sink into you that night that all that work you put in wasn't for nothing? There were no second places, which you and I have talked about what it feels like to finish second. This was your time, your moment. You put in the work and you were the champion.
And I think it kind of showed. So my mentality going into it was that I have to win, and I needed to stick to my game plan. I knew that if he were to come forward, I needed to stay tight, fight in a phone booth, and scrap around with him a little bit. So I knew as long as I stayed with the plan that I would be okay. So it was one of those things. The mentality was kind of, I kept replaying it over and over in my head. A lot of professional sports players, especially the great ones, will replay, the moment where you hold the belt and you hold it up, that visualization. So before the fight even happened, I just went into the mentality that no matter what happens, whether it's close or whether it's a knockout or whatever happens, I'm going to hold this belt at the end. And I think that mentality going into it, I'm still nervous. I'm still amped up. I talked to Joe Board before the fight, and he said, hey, if you're not nervous, you don't want it bad enough. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I was still confident that I had done everything up to that point that I needed to do. And at that point, all I had to do was execute.
So when, and at what point do you sit down with the family, the friends, and you're celebrating, and you just take a deep breath and you think, man, it's over with. I can't, I know you weren't surprised that you won, like you expected to win, like you talked about, but when do you take that breath and you say, I'm kind of glad that's over?
Oh man, it's almost immediately. It's almost immediately. Cause I mean, if you look at 6-7 months of training, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but I mean, it's every day. It's nonstop. It's diet. It's, you know what I mean? It's routine. It's sparring. You go get thumped on in sparring, and then you have to get up the next day and do it again. So a fighter's life is a warrior's life, and I say it all the time. Whether we're talking about the Army or whether we're talking about fighting. I just want to be a warrior, so.
Yeah. And I tell you what, your mentality that you took into that, I believe was some of the difference. Like at the end of the day, there was no giving up. There was no quit. There was no backing down. You were there to throw. It was awesome to watch you, not just that fight, but throughout the tournament. You had a great following. I dreamed it up in my head that you would be there in Huntington in the finals, and it happened. It was your town. I'm sure you've got a lot of talk afterwards. I'm sure the accomplishment has came with a lot of talk amongst your friends and your network and that kind of stuff. Tell me just a little bit about that before we go. I'm sure there's some people to thank that were a part of this ride with you. Mention those people.
Yeah, absolutely. Always want to thank Bill Yates, Travis Hanshaw, Amy Elkins down at Tri-State, all the gyms that kind of let me float around and get a bunch of work in. I want to thank my wife, man. She put up with a lot of me being grumpy and grouchy all the time because, like I said, it's puts you on edge a little bit, staying in the training.
And how about that belt? Huh? How about the belt at the end? Huh?
That's what I wanted, man, and that's the perfect prize. So I think all the guys are getting more belts for this year too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think all the guys will be impressed by the quality of the belt. I'm going to get Tyler Ainscough to make me one of those boxes that he makes.
Yeah.
So, I can have a trophy room.
Yeah.
But as far as the show goes, we had I had a lot of buddies on the undercard of that fight for the Huntington fight out of Ground Zero and a couple of the local gyms. And as far as the quality of the show and the way you guys put on a show, man, everybody is impressed by the promotion. So everybody's impressed about being a part of that. So I think everybody coming in this year in all the different weight divisions, they're going to be impressed with the quality of show that you guys put on. So.
Give me a name. I don't know if you're 100% aware of everybody that's entered their name into the tournament, but maybe give me somebody to look out for that you think might make some noise, whether it's a heavyweight or something else. You got somebody out there you think would be worth keeping an eye on?
Well, you still got, the greats. I mean, Gabe Lambert is coming back, and you still got Derek Gibson. And I think Derek wants some redemption because, I mean, he's a heck of a fighter, man, and he can knock anybody out with one punch. So I think put him in there with anybody, he can put him down. And Grizzle's back. Grizzle is a phenomenal heavyweight boxer with great feet, great technique, good coaching, great experience. You know what I mean? So just those three guys alone, I can't tell you who would win. But
that's the best part of it, Gary, is
and I fought all of them, man. They're all very good fighters.
Now, this is my last question for you. I know you're a busy man. You've accomplished a lot. You've now proven to be the best in the state as an amateur. You've fought in those semi-pro things. You've done a lot, whether it's bodybuilding and different stuff that you've been able to really compete at a super high level. But the question I really want to know is, are we going to see Garry Roland in the boxing ring again at some point? Maybe as a professional someday.
Hey, it's in the talks, man. I would have to get my family on board and see what they think. I can't say no, but at the same time, I've got a couple things before I make that hard decision. I got to explore my options, but before I make that hard decision, I really have to finish this school that I'm in, because I'm down here in Columbus, Georgia, in Fort Benning right now, doing Bolick Officer School for Armor. And as soon as I get that knocked out, I'll start looking at different options, and I'll decide. Because like I said, I don't want to ever look back and think, I left something on the table or I missed out on something. So it's one of those things. I love fighting. I do. I've always enjoyed it. So.
Well, in this tournament, you got a good chance to see what it was like to know the opponent, to have 6 weeks to get ready, to do some longer rounds, to kind of train like a pro, where you get a few days off after a fight, but then it's right back in there for another 6-7 weeks. It is demanding. I mean, those guys take it very, very serious, and you obviously did too. And you ended up being the 2021 King of the Mountain State as our heavyweight champion, Gary. There's nobody better of a person or a fighter that could have won that belt. We are thankful and lucky to have you. I hope whenever you get, through training and stuff, if you get weekends, I hope you can come to some of the shows this year. We'd love to have you there sitting ringside. But thanks for everything you did for our tournament, our friendship that we've built, and everything maybe in the future that might go down. Again, there's nobody better that could have been our first heavyweight champion. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chase. Same goes to you. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, brother.